Are you a leader who's ready to go from stuck to unstoppable? It's time to stop leading on autopilot and start leading with purpose. Through my Leadership with Purpose program and next level coaching, you'll gain the clarity and confidence and tools to lead from within so you can make a greater impact without burning out. Build stronger teams, crush self-doubt, lead with clarity and conviction, and unlock your next level of leadership. Don't settle for good leadership. Step into your greatness. Visit warrenwandling.com to learn more and start your journey today. Your next level of leadership starts now. Welcome back to another episode of How to Become an Obstacle Buster. I'm your host, Warren Wandling, the show that's dedicated to helping leaders and entrepreneurs to overcome their obstacles, build resilience, and achieve success. And I have a very interesting guest with me to help us do that, Joe Wheeler. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Hi, Warren. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Much appreciated and glad to be here and chat and look forward to where the conversation goes.
Yeah, interesting background. I think you're known for saying that modern dads and leaders don't need more guilt. What they need is practical. Am I right?
Right. Exactly right.
What they need, though, is building more tools to rebuild energy, confidence, persistence, and resilience. In fact, most dads probably don't need another parenting lecture.
Exactly.
What they need is a plan so they can feel themselves more about who they were before they became a dad. Yep. Your background is that you are a technology attorney in Seattle.
Yep.
A husband, a father of three, author of the book, Dad Bod, focusing on you so you are there for them. You share real talk and practical tools for navigating modern stress, mental health, habits that rebuild energy. And before our listeners leave today, I know that they're going to have some simple mantras, some quick wins, and daily moves that they can show up stronger at home and at work. So tell our listeners a little more kind of about your background.
Yeah, thanks, Warren. Much appreciated. Yeah, you hit a lot of the bullet points, but I'm an attorney by trade, and that's kind of my 9-to-5 job. And a few years ago, I just kind of looked back and said, gosh, am I living my best life? And I think the answer at that time was no. I mean, I wasn't really finding that work-life balance. I didn't really feel like I was there how I wanted to be for my kids and my wife. And I kind of felt like I was struggling. And, where I chose to start was with the one thing that I can control. I was like, okay, what can I control?
Yeah.
Well, I can really control my health. And more specifically, I can really control my diet. Okay, let's start there, because I don't know where else to do. And that kind of led me into journaling. And I started kind of writing about some of this stuff and kind of writing about, where did this stuff come from? Or where did these preconceived notions come from? Why did I do this? Or where did this? And I started journaling all of it. And I looked back after a couple of years, like, wow, I think I have a really interesting book. And I wasn't really sure what to do with it. And I kind of just sat on it for a while. And I started to share some ideas with friends and family. And they said, you should put this together and just put it out there, because even if it does nothing, maybe it will help one or two dads kind of see things a little bit differently. And I thought, you know what, that's the best thing I could do. So that's what I ended up doing. And I ended up publishing the book called Dad Bod. And it's been a great journey. Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. And even though our listeners, if you are not a dad, but you're a leader, or even maybe you're our female listeners, you know a male in your life that could use the book and the resources. But at the same time, I know that the principles anyone can use in practical use as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of what I took from it. I took a lifelong experiences that I had kind of lived in, experiences, things from the business world, things from the personal world, things from the professional world, things that I had gleaned, or things that I had maybe not thought that much about, but were kind of like gnawing at the back of my head, and just kind of put it all out there. It really kind of helped me center myself and kind of determine the person I wanted to be in the future. Looking back helped me ultimately shape where I was going. And I think that was the most important thing. I think that's what we all can do every once in a while, is just pause, take stock, take inventory. and say, okay, where am I going to be 5 years from now?
Hmm.
Am I doing what I want to be doing to get there? Or am I doing something totally left field that doesn't really put me in the position that I want to be in? And taking stock and taking inventory of a lot of those steps really kind of shaped the person that I wanted to become.
Yeah, that's really fascinating that you even like took the time to be able to, hey, first of all, the self-awareness,
Yeah,
like I need to make a change. If I don't, I know where this is going to might end up, right?
yeah,
And so
right.
you took something, control what you can control.
Yep.
And so you started working on that. But it's interesting that you captured your thoughts in journaling, which is a powerful strategy in itself and Leffing to give you for leaders to be able to journal. I always teach it's so important to be able to journal because it
Hmm.
allows you time to process. And as leaders, we don't spend a lot of time thinking and processing. We just want to take action and accomplishing tasks, but not really processing. But that's kind of the benefit. I mean, because you spent the time writing, you had a
Yeah,
book. I mean, if you had to sit down and say, I'm going to write a book about maybe that wouldn't have,
exactly.
we would be here today.
Yeah, so funny, Warren. I think you're exactly right. I think if I sat down to write this book, I would have stared at the screen for hours.
Uh-huh.
I just would have been, oh man, I don't know where to start. I don't know where I'm going with this. What's the end game look like? But that wasn't the journey. The journey was the processes
Hmm.
that got me there. And it just just so happened to be that journaling was it. And you're absolutely right. Putting those ideas and pen to paper and putting those thoughts out there is a way for you to kind of process all of those things that you're thinking. And
Hmm.
maybe you write 5 pages and maybe only 3 sentences really mattered, but it was those 3 sentences that you wouldn't have
Hmm.
got to if you didn't write the first 4 pages. So, you don't really know where it's going, but
Yeah.
you know that practice is what's needed. That process is what's needed. It's really interesting.
Yeah. So what do you think is the biggest obstacle
Hmm.
for modern dads or leaders that
Hmm.
they're facing today?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think work-life balance is still a
Hmm.
really big part of kind of the modern landscape. You know, wanting to be there for your colleagues, wanting to do the best job possible, bringing home that paycheck, being that supporter, and also having that push and pull of, hey, daddy's not home, or he didn't make it to
Hmm.
my baseball game, or he's so busy he doesn't have enough time for me. That push and pull of that work-life balance and finding those ways to kind of show up for everybody, which dovetails into the next thing, which is the mental health aspect
Hmm.
and those stressors. Not a lot of time is spent on masculine mental health.
Hmm.
People are just supposed to push through and carry on and say, "Hey, we're good. We're all good." That's just how it is. I think that awareness of those issues is probably the first way to kind of take stock and take inventory of like, hey, maybe we could do a little bit better here. Maybe
Hmm.
maybe there can be some adjustments in your work-life balance. Maybe you can, put the phone down during certain times, or maybe you can climb down on the floor with your kids and play Legos for a couple hours and not think about work. I mean, there's always ways to do it, but it's harder said than done.
Hmm.
I think those are probably the biggest obstacles that kind of face the that demographic right now. That's what I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. So why do you think so many leaders, I know we like to
Yeah.
power through, like just
Yeah.
power through the stress. Why do you think that is?
I think it's the framework, It's kind
Mm.
of how we're built. It's what's expected. It's what our dads or leaders did before us. It's what, we're told how we're supposed to act. There's a
Hmm.
lot of things that kind of pile on top of that mentality, right?
Hmm.
Because you have to wonder, is it us? Is it us always saying, I have to do better, I have to push, I have to? Because it kind of feels like there's a lot of push and pull in all directions. So it almost feels like there's other things, right? It's
Hmm.
it's society, it's how you were raised, it's how you saw people doing it. It's all those factors that come into play. It's up to us to kind of maybe stop that cycle when you can and say, hey, there might be a little bit of a different way,
Hmm.
maybe a better way, maybe not, but there might be a different way. maybe we should explore that a little bit and see how that looks. So I think that's a lot of factors, Warren. I think a lot of things come down to it. And a lot of it comes down to the individual too, right? It's how hard are you going to push? How much are you going to achieve? How far are you going to go? And sometimes it's okay to pause. It's okay to say, hey, let's try something a little bit different.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, the asking the right questions, because I think if you ask the right questions, we get the right results. Sometimes leaders don't ask the right question.
Very true.
It will take the time to pause. I love that suggestion, is like pause, like maybe we might have to hit a reset and to refocus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
exactly right.
Part of that process is kind of reclaiming your identity, certainly from after that identity of the dad. Certainly your book's focused from that perspective, right? What do you mean by kind of reclaiming your identity and taking that back?
Yeah, I think, dads kind of have such a stereotypical mindset, right? Like that's why the title of my book is Dad Bod, because it's almost like an instant image. You know exactly what it means, right? That trope of like an overweight guy with a stroller and a diaper bag and, just kind of out there going through the motions. I think taking stock and inventory of what that really means to you, and if you're that guy and you're 100% happy with that and that's what you want to be, hey, great, more power to you. That's awesome. But most of the time, it's like, I gained an extra 20 pounds. I didn't mean to. Like I haven't been to the gym in 2 years. I'm not happy about that. That's just life, And the reason why the subtitle of my book is focusing on you, so you are there for them, is because one thing I realized is that the only way that I could be the best dad that I could be is that if I had to first be the best person I could be. And in order to do that, I had to be happy with myself and others around you. And, there's a lot of mental and physical and emotional things to make a person happy, right? It's not just, oh, you're going to lose a few pounds and feel great. There's a lot of other kind of factors into that. And I think that when you show up holistically for your family and for your friends out there, you kind of open yourself up to this vulnerability that just allows you to be a better person and kind of take on all those daily challenges that you're going to be faced with. Child rearing and being a dad, it's not the easiest thing in the world. There's always challenges and pushback and, all this other stuff. But when you can approach it, at least from a level field of kind of openness and acceptance with yourself, I think you're going to approach everything else a little bit better.
Yeah, which is a great principle in any role. Like from a leader's perspective, you have to, like, if you're going to be able to really be a leader that you are meant to be, you have to look inward first.
Exactly.
To make those, to grow yourself first before you can start growing a team.
Exactly.
So that's really good insight.
Yeah.
So one of those strategies I think you use to help dads make that change is through different mantras. Yep. So how do you help men use mantras to be able to really take action?
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. That's awesome. Every chapter ends with, a mantra, right? And for me, it was almost like these bullet points of action to kind of fine tune a way to really affect change. It didn't have to be a huge change, didn't have to go out and change the world or, flip things on its head. Just little adjustments in kind of your daily life that might help you lean towards that reset a little bit easier. So I call them bullet points of action, just little steps to kind of get the framework reset. That's the idea behind them. And I ended up kind of working them out my own through a long journey. I distilled them in the book kind of in a more simpler, easier way for my readers to kind of distill them, more effectively. But it just seemed to me that I needed just a little bit help, a little bit guidance a little bit more clearer path to really push certain things into motion. And that's where they came from.
Interesting. So for a strategy, do you suggest that they like pick a mantra a day or a week and focus on that to be able to make progress?
Yeah. I'd say follow the kind of the flow of the book, and after each chapter, just kind of embrace what those action points are, what those bullet points of action are. I'd say, to each his own. If you power through that book and get through it and want to go through each mantra as much as you can, that's fantastic. If you're like, I want to sit with this, that's okay too. They didn't come to me overnight. They were through processes and kind of working through certain things. And some of them were emotional, some of them were physical, some of them were, cathartic in a way. I think, to each his own. However you want to journey through that process, I support it.
Okay. So what's a simple 15-minute reset that dads can use after a stressful day? So that's like almost every day.
Sometimes it is. Yeah, Warren. Sometimes it is. No doubt about it. One thing that has really helped me, I think, is to sit in a quiet place. Sometimes this is the car before you get out of the car going into the house, right? And imagine where you want to see yourself 5 years from now. It doesn't have to be 5 years. It can be a year. It can be 6 months. It can be Christmas time. It doesn't, the time frames are relevant. It's sometime in the future. And say, am I doing everything I want to be doing today so I can be in that place that I perfectly envision myself in the future? What can adjust? What can I change? What needs a little bit more filtering, or what needs a little bit more fine tuning? And sometimes it can get a little bit deep, but it also just can really center yourself. There's a calmness in that. There's a calmness in thinking about something that's yet to happen, right? And there could be, at least for most of the time with me, there was a peacefulness in that too. There was a moment where you kind of exhale a big breath and say, okay, that's a good place. That's a good spot, or I can get there. So any reset you do, you can always do something like that. Kind of always project yourself in the past or the future, and kind of say, hey, where am I going to be at that moment? I've over the years, I've kind of realized that it's a really good way to think about that stuff, but it's also a really good way just to kind of take a breath and center yourself. So,
yeah, I love that. It really is a simple strategy and powerful in reference to using visualization.
Exactly.
To be able to see yourself in the future.
Exactly.
And how that is going to show up. And what would you like the behavior that you'd like to see yourself accomplishing?
Exactly.
Yeah. I guess you could use that, like if you're going to start going to the gym, or maybe another sport, if you're just going to run. That's one of the sports I do, is I like to run. Most people don't even use those two words in the same sentence ever, but
That's awesome. That's awesome, Warren. That's fantastic. I'm not a runner, but I always say, man, I want to run. I want to get out there, and I just want to just go and not look back. It's like, it's great. I love that.
But so people could see whatever they wanted to do, they could visualize themselves doing. That's going to help move them into action.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we talk a lot about obstacles on this show. So what personal obstacle that you overcame to be able to write this book and actually share this message?
That's a great question. I think it was kind of my physical health. It was, I ended up losing a ton of weight. I lost 67 pounds over the
That's
course.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I didn't intend to do it. I think that was the most interesting part about it. As I started this journey thinking like, I just got to lose a few pounds. And the reason is I continuously would go to the doctor's office and I'd have high blood pressure. And I was at a point where it was like, okay, I need to start doing something about this. I need to either lose some weight, or maybe I need to get on some medication, or maybe I need to make some changes. I wasn't,
Mhm.
and it's like, I have to try it this way first. I just have to, this is the one thing I can control. I just kind of need to do it. And sure enough, it helped. It worked. I mean, I don't have high blood pressure anymore, knock on wood, you know? So, but the biggest obstacle, I think was kind of pushing yourself through that journey and really sticking with that self-discipline, to affect that change. You know, there were so many times where it would have been so much easier to say, oh my gosh, I lost 20 pounds. Yay, I'm done. And that wasn't the journey, you know, that wasn't enough at the time. It was, okay, well, I did this. I wonder if I can push myself to go a little bit further. Oh, wow. I wonder if I can push myself to go even a little bit further. Oh, cool. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Then I got to the point where I was journaling and I had the book, and it was like, wow, okay, well, I almost have this whole book done. I really need to finish this. I need to turn this into something, and took the process to kind of do that. You know, I think just sticking with it, sticking with whatever you choose to do, whatever process that is, whatever journey you want to go on, allow yourself to actually experience it. Allow yourself to experience, and then try to push yourself a little bit further and say, I wonder if I can go a little bit further. I wonder if I can do a little bit better. So,
Yeah, I'm really curious that language that you're using. I'm curious because you're like, if you can push yourself a little bit further.
yeah.
I'm curious, what was that mechanism that you might be aware of that allowed you to be able to push instead of abandon your goal?
Yeah. That's a great question, Warren. Yeah. I think for myself personally, it's one of those like challenge accepted type moments where I wanted to see how far I could go. I wanted to see if I had the enough discipline and enough drive to keep you going. You know, there were so many moments and so many times where it was like, oh yeah, this is great. This is good enough. I feel good. I look good. My blood pressure's down. I'm good. And so many times I wanted to say, yeah, it's all good, you know? And for whatever reason, at that time in my life, when I was going through all this kind of journaling and all this other kind of self-awareness and all this kind of emotional and mental things too, that wasn't good enough at the moment. And I really needed to challenge myself just as far as I could go. I needed to push myself. I wanted to just keep working and keep working at it. The mechanisms to do that, I think, was just pure self-discipline and awareness. I think the self-awareness of just saying, you know, how far can this really go? Because I think the positive changes could be endless rather than not. And that's what got me going. Your question was really good about the mechanisms, and I think there was this kind of heightened self-awareness and discipline that just kind of kept pushing me and challenging myself rather than saying, hey, this is good. You know, it's way better than what I ever intended. It's way more than what I wanted to. And then it was almost like, how far can it go? It was almost like, oh, this is really interesting. Now we have to test how far can it go?
Oh, interesting.
You know, let's now it's almost like a curiosity mechanism of like, I wonder how far this can go. So, you know, when you add kind of that challenge and that curiosity, and on top of that kind of self-discipline and awareness, it's like it kind of just clicked all the buttons for me personally. You know, it allowed me to like exercise my drive and my entrepreneurial spirit and my, you know, gadget desire, my tech background, you know, all this stuff that I just kind of loved the journey. At some point in the middle of it, I fell in love with the process.
Oh, wow.
And it kept me going.
Yeah, that's interesting. Love. Yeah, to fall in love with the process. That's probably the secret right there. So
I think so. Yeah, yeah,
What's a
yeah,
step? Like if one of our listeners, if they wanted to start making change, if they feel like they feel
yeah,
stuck, what's a simple step that you
yeah.
think what they could possibly take?
First step is just take stock.
Hmm.
Take stock and take inventory. Take a pause. Take a pause, take stock, take inventory, list out 3 or 4 things that you want to change. List out one
Hmm.
sentence of what you think you could do to get you started. Really simple stuff. I want to do 25 push-ups. All right, I'm going to start by doing 10 a day for the next 3
Hmm.
weeks. Hopefully gets you up to 25. Simple physical task,
Yeah.
right? Do that with anything. I want to I want to read Moby
Hmm.
Dick. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to, whatever it is. Start with a simple task that gives you a finite
Hmm.
goal and an outcome. Because once you start ticking off those little goals, you can start thinking about the big goals, and you can say, okay, now let's make some life changing
Yeah.
changes. Where's this
Yeah.
going?
I love that. So, what are some authors maybe that have influenced you along your career journey?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I love inspirational books and I love
Uh-huh.
self-help books. I think some fantastic authors. The classics. I don't know if you've heard of How to Win
Oh
Friends
yeah,
and
that's
Influence
definitely a
People, one of
classic.
my
Yeah.
favorite books of all time, Dale Carnegie. And then Dr. Laura
Oh yeah.
Schlesinger. I
Okay. Oh my
remember reading
goodness.
her I remember reading her a lot and saying, "Oh man, she is just direct and to the point and no
Uh-huh.
nonsense and common sense." And um, I don't know if you know T.
Oh
Harv
yeah.
Eker. Yeah, that's another
Mhm.
self-help book that just really resonates with me. Just kind of the voice, the inspiration. So hopefully, there's some nuggets for your readers out there to go if they haven't heard of them, or probably most of them have. But if not, you know, all good reads,
Yeah, thanks
excellent
for
reads.
sharing. It's always important, I think, for readers. I mean, if some people I know a lot, they don't have time
Hmm.
or they don't like to read, whatever the case is, but Audible or other tools out there are great ways to be able
Yep,
to get your reading in, per se. Yeah, so thanks for
exactly.
sharing those
Yeah, no
titles.
doubt about it. Oh, of
So, what
course.
does
Yeah,
the future
absolutely.
hold? Any special projects that you're working on?
Interestingly enough, Warren, I'm writing
Oh,
again.
wow.
Yeah, I'm it's not really a follow-up to Dad Bod, but it kind of touches a
Hmm.
lot. I think there's some interesting push and pull with specific masculinity and kind of what the society
Hmm.
perception on that. And so I have another book coming out that kind of addresses on that. And then keep writing. I've written some children's
Oh, wow.
books.
Okay.
I wrote a book of poems, and I'm working on kind of illustrating it and drawing some fun pictures to go along with it. And at night, I kind of read them to my kids, and they enjoy them. It's like, all right, cool. So, being an attorney, I think it's easier for me to write than not. I write and read just a
Uh-huh.
ton, just as part of my daily work and as part of my daily life. So, not out there putting pen to paper for me is a little bit odd. I think it's a good creative outlet for myself, and it allows me to kind of really process things as we've talked about in
Yeah.
writing Dad Bod. Yeah. So but yeah, you can follow me at yourdadbod.com, and anything you need about Dad Bod, we're on all the socials, and I would love to connect with
Okay.
whomever. Drop me a note, drop me a
Yeah, is that
line.
the best
Um,
link for our listeners to be able to connect with you, Joe?
it
Okay.
is, it is, yeah, yourdadbod.com, and we're on Facebook and Instagram and wherever else you can follow people and all that.
Okay.
But yeah, look forward to hearing from anybody
Yeah,
out
we'll
there.
definitely make sure that link is in the show notes.
Oh, thanks, Warren. Much
Well,
appreciated.
awesome. Well, this has been awesome. Sharing all your strategies and tips, helping those dads to be able to like break through those
Yeah.
obstacles.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm out there just from one dad to
Yeah,
another doing it.
exactly. Well, this is your host, Warren Wandling, saying until next time, be an obstacle buster and be resilient.